Welcome to the Masters Championship podcast. This is Daniel Wilson. Well, it is finally day one, and we are looking forward to some great hockey this week. So let's take a look at today's schedule. The schedule showing Britain, Portugal in Group A is our first game of the day. Italy will take on Saskatchewan. The women's division comes into play at 12:50 USA against Canada. Canada is actually playing two games today. They will face Great Britain later today at 19:30. Slovakia and Haiti face each other in Group B, and back over in Group A, Portugal, Greece at 6:10, and Canada will be playing the United States at 7:50 today. And Italy will also be playing a second game today as they will face Bermuda over in Arena 2 at 18:30. Now, I want to take the time to take a look at each team and see what they bring to the table this year. So, this is more of an overview of what to expect. Let's start with Canada. They are this year's favorites to win the Masters Championship. Now, most of their roster does rely on depth scoring. Now, this year, they do not have Kevin Marchuk, which was last year's team point leader. But who they do bring this year is Giuseppe D'Amico, who did play for Italy at last year's World Championships, but he does play with Canada at the Masters. He's played with them before. He'll be joined by Sean Fair and Marcel Lafortune, who will be expected to be at the top line, as each of them have had some high scoring numbers. Canada actually brings two teams this year. Saskatchewan will be represented for the second year in a row. They were considered the powerhouse last year for offenses. They were stacking up all the goals, but what they lacked last year was in the net. Now, their top offensive line does include the return of Brock Harrison and Justin Dupramont. And just take a look at those numbers. 14 assists for Brock Harrison, 9 goals, 8 assists for Dupramont. Those are very high numbers, even more than the main Canada team. So they do have that power. They won the bronze last time around. Now, in order to try to fix the problems in the net, they do have a brand new goaltending tandem. So we'll see if that fixes the problems for Saskatchewan. Now, let's take a look at our defending champions, Slovakia. Now, the big thing for them is that most of their top players from last year are not coming back. This means that they're not getting back Miroslav Bihul, Peter Pirosik, Robert Sloboda, or Branislav Thron. So they will not have any of those top players on their team, but they will get back Lukas Lachiak, who comes back with 8 assists, although he has not scored a goal last year. They also have an entirely different goaltending tandem this year with Lubomir Kaderjak and Patrick Pristas. So this will put a little bit of question as to whether they still have a big offensive game in their team. But the only way to find out is to play the game. Now let's go over to the United States. Now, the main thing that's been talked about is them gaining Denny Schlegel, who won bronze at the 2022 championships. And if you take a look at his all-time numbers in international play, 11 goals, 14 assists, 25 points. So he brings with him a lot of offense to this team. Now, he'll be joining Jason White-Knight, who came in as the points leader of the team last year. The other new acquisitions for the United States are Ricky Morang, Jared Hirsch, and Matt Murata. So we'll see if that will bolster their offense this year, try to get themselves a deeper playoff run. Now, one of the main rivals that was considered for them last year was Greece. Now, they have a very good offensive team, but they did place 5th last year in Group B. Now, who will be joining them will be the Barbas brothers. They do join after finishing 4th overall at the World Championships last year with the main team. Mario Arguez, Anastasios Bozinakos, and Carl Gingras will be playing with each other. They do play well off of them. They will not have Michael Freestone, who would have helped them further on offense. Now, the stats for these 3 players, they are at least 10 points off of each other. Most of them have been playmakers, and this is where I bring in the point of Freestone not being in the lineup. He was their top goal shooter of the team. So who will be the one to fill his place? As far as goaltending, John Sonodakis is the only goaltender that is going to be coming back for Greece. And this time he'll be joined by Foti Moshonas and Konstantinos Stavridis. So we'll see how this works out for Greece. Haiti has been considered one of the sleeper teams this year. Now, this is their first ever Masters team. They have previously competed in the 2019 and 2022 World Championships. So this will be a team that we will be learning more about as play goes on. There are 4 players that do have experience with tournament play, and that's Ainsley Bien-Ami, Reginald Augustin, Jika Massa, and Raymond Jujuste. They also have Ricky Pajot in the net, who doesn't have any tournament experience, but he does have National Ball Hockey League experience playing in California. So we'll see with them. Now, we talk about sleeper candidates, and Haiti's been talked about, but there is a team that I personally have as a sleeper pick, and that is Bermuda. Now, this is their first Masters team since 2018. Now, the reason why I have them is because I have one name circled, and that's Jeremy Este. He entered last year's World Championship and scored 9 goals, 8 assists. I think he can work well in bolstering this team's offense. Keep an eye on Doug Lynch as well. There is a player that's also returning from the original 2018 team that was then the points leader, and that's Tom Worthington White. And all 3 goalies, I think it's a big plus, is that they all have tournament experience. So I personally have Bermuda as a sleeper pick here. So I think they can make some noise. Italy is here. They will have their first Masters team since 2018, just like Bermuda. Now, unlike 2018, they don't have that same powerhouse offense that they did, which will leave a lot of questions as to what this team brings on a heavily revamped roster. Now, there are a couple of players that are coming over from last year's World Championship team, and that's Paulo Lusto and Jonathan Pulisiccio. And also coming back from the 2018 team is Adriano Fiaccioni, Robert Marini, David Perugini, Rafael Pericordi, and Chris Sebastian. So my big question is, do they still have that offense? Because a lot of those players from the original team are not here. So we'll have to see as the tournament plays out for them. Portugal is here with their second Masters team, and this is only the second time ever that they've played in a tournament. Now, the only player coming back from the 2018 team is Paul Duarte, but the team has grown much bigger since we last seen them. So this is a team we're going to be learning more about as the play goes on. And Great Britain, another team that's been trying to get some offense, trying to bolster in. There are 8 players returning from last year. Now, out of all the players that have returned, they've only combined for 1 goal. Now, Richard Bennett and Darren Elliott will be returning as the goalies for Great Britain, but they are really going to need some help on their offensive line because they just struggle with that. Now, over to the women's division. We'll start with Canada. Now, for the first time in women's, they did not win the gold. They won silver last year. So you bet that they're going to be coming out and just fighting to get their gold medal back. Now, they do have quite a bit of powerhouse forwards, and that is Shelley Cockerill, Chantel Fritsche, and Rebecca King. All of them came in with more than 10 points from last time. Now, the roster is mainly unchanged from last year. They do have Crystal Mark come back as a goalie, but this time she'll be backed up by Nathalie Gerard and Keely Procu. And Canada, they are one of the 2 that keep an eye on in this division. We only have 3 women's division teams this year. And the other one we're going to be taking a look at is the United States. Yeah, after winning silver for 3 years in a row, they finally won the gold medal. And I got a feeling that this is not going to be an easy task for them to defend their gold medal. And just like Canada, the roster is mainly unchanged. Liz Connor coming back. And after winning the gold, she also became a National Ball Hockey League champion in the women's tier. And we take a look at the stats from the last 5 games that she had played. She is coming up above 930 on her save percentage, which is going to really work well for the defense for the United States. And that just leaves us with the offense. And the ones I want to watch for is Cherry Stewart and Ann Gertz. As I said, they are the top points getters for the team. And I expect that they will build off of it, but they will need to get some help from their depth. And finally, we go to Great Britain women's. Now, the 2 players that stand out for me is Becky Castor-Wood and Hazel Taylor. They both come in with 5 points each. So there is something to build off of with those 2, but they will need to get some help from their depth, and they especially need some help with offense. Their goalies need some help. They've been facing a lot of shots, and they would love to get some help from their defense. So that is it for today's podcast. Enjoy today's games, and we'll be back tomorrow to recap all the games as well as preview the games for Thursday. So till then, I'm Daniel Wilson. We'll see you next time.